For all our viewers across Africa and the rest of the world, this is NC Continental Prime. I am Lekon Onobanjo. Our coverage tonight begins in West Africa, where the Nigerian Senate has increased the 2024 budget by a total of 1.2 trillion naira, moving the budget from 27.5 trillion naira to 28.7 trillion naira. According to the report submitted by the Appropriation Committee led by Senator Solomon Adeola, aggregate expenditure was pegged at 28.7 trillion naira, statutory transfers 1.7 trillion naira, recurrent expenditure 8.7 trillion naira, capital expenditure 9.9 trillion naira, and gross domestic product at 3.88%. President Bola Tinubu had on November 29 presented a total of 27.5 trillion naira budget proposal to a joint session of the National Assembly. The president pegged the budget deficit for the 2024 fiscal year at 9.18 trillion naira, stating that the deficit represents 3.88% of Nigeria's GDP. And to discuss this, I'm being joined by Akin Fatunke, a chartered accountant. Hello, Akin. Good evening to you.
Good evening. Compliments of the season.
Same to you. It's a pleasure having you around.
Thank you.
How has the Nigerian Senate, of course, the allocation of the addition of about 1.2 trillion naira in the 2024 budget increase, how do you see it? What do you think it will change in terms of the budget trajectory and, of course, what it is meant to achieve when we look at the country's economic priorities and the plans for development?
It's safe to say budget of renewed hope. I know that when the appropriation bill was submitted by Mr. President around 29th of November, quite a number of things cropped up. One was the weakening in Naira. The Naira weakening, of course, naturally will make some economic effects and adjustments, but essentially now being pegged at 800 Naira per US dollar on the prompting of the presidency is supposed to boost non-oil exports. And we are beginning to see, early days though, we are beginning to see that might just be coming. And in addition, on a general aggregate level, the revenue projections by MDAs of the federal government has taken a bit of a slide upwards. On projection, after that appropriation bill was presented, firing to go on all cylinders. One of them, perhaps amongst others, will be the Agricultural Development Fund to help boost agriculture, help boost tourism, to help look at the social infrastructures that is envisaged in the education, put it that way, the educational scholarship bill that is going through a bit of to and fro to make it much more effective, and above all, what you, Leko, and I see on a regular daily basis, issues surrounding labor, the labor upgrades and what have you. What this is supposed to do is that at the back of devaluation, so to speak, we need to try and maintain our production quota as much as we can, and that we can begin to now look for new borrowings, which should be some 7.88 US dollars, privatization proceeds, and draw down on the multilateral and unilateral loans, which, as I speak with you, is beginning to show fruits. The African Development Bank has decided to help us support.
Fatunke, Yes. Can I just quickly come in here? We just quickly need to look at the adjustments made by the National Assembly. Some of the adjustments include foreign exchange differential, increase of government-owned enterprises revenue, and of course, same for personal reduction, service-wide votes, wage adjustments, and reduction for service-wide in that category. So when you look at the areas by which the NAS, that is the National Assembly, has chosen to increase the budgets by that particular amount, 1.2 trillion naira, do you think it will make any difference in those areas? And do you think that Nigeria would achieve much with the increase in the budget?
I think Nigeria will increase much in the areas of the budget, and I'm not on the same table to say that the National Assembly has increased the budget. This was at the prompting of the executive. They had to revise their forecasts upwards. Like I said, the deficit is now 9.18 trillion. That's about 3.88% of GDP. Even though the aggregate deficits, when you compare it to the previous year, is by far lower. And which will really be at 6.11%. I think the executive realized the fact that they needed to revise these reports, basically because I think the revenue projections from the MDAs and departments and agencies of government has kind of shoot up. And the Senate, looking at it, kind of agreed, even though elements within some of those budgets still looks a bit curious, as in the the Agricultural Development Fund. Talking about going to look for about 1.2 billion, to look for housing. What kind of housing are we looking at? Still talking about maintenance within new buildings that you have built in. You don't begin to maintain in year one as soon as you get all that kind of maintenance. I'm still talking about operational vehicles, which is not properly delineated. And one feels that in the area of expenditure, we still have some bit of a challenge. But all put together, the executive and the legislature are virtually on one page. I know perhaps later part of what you may be looking at is to now then marry this with the supplementary appropriation bill that came before this 2024 budget. Yes, in that appropriation bill were excesses of the kind of spending that one is not envisaging.
Okay.
One expected that the Senate was going to have a bit of a rethink and find a way to lower them. But I see a situation where they try to maintain a balance on revenue projection that is going out, taxation, widening of the scope of the net that should bring in more money, and on the back of the promises.
So finally, Fatunke, finally, because we're actually pressed for time, quickly, I just want to have your take. Looking at the GDP growth projection of 3.88% for 2024, do you think there will be challenges? And of course, are there also opportunities for Nigeria in this regard?
I think there will be challenges if we don't, quote unquote, according to Clark, we are not efficient, in the maintenance of the loan that we are going to get rather from multilateral, which is going to be pegged to specific projects. It should go there and it should be accounted for. And if we now then decide for one reason or another that we spend a bit of this on what I like to describe consumptive tendencies, and if the presidency and all agencies of government and subnationals decide not to kind of prune down. One is expecting a prune down to come from there. And are we going to expect a few challenges. Naturally, these are budget estimates.
Of course.
There will be challenges if anything goes out of sync.
Of course, we understand that.
Management is to expect things will go out of sync and put a lid on making it to not go out of equilibrium.
Well, we hope that
I'm positive that something will come up from the disciplined implementation of this budget.
Of course, a lot of people hope that too. Akin Fatunke, thank you so much for your contributions.
Thank you very much, Leko.